He was called the Hick from French Lick. But, everyone knows Larry Bird became a global icon. And you wanted to understand more about him and what made him such a legend. So that's what we're going to unpack today. Using these excerpts from his biography, we're going to get ready because it's way more than just basketball skills with this guy.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's really a story of resilience, overcoming some pretty incredible hardship and finding your own path, even when it seems like the world's against you. And that's something I think we can all relate to.
Absolutely. And to really understand that, I think we got to rewind all the way back to Bird's childhood. We're talking rural Indiana, a town called French Lick.
Yeah.
Not exactly a breeding ground for NBA superstars.
No, not really. And it wasn't an easy start for him either. Working class family. His father was a World War II vet, and he struggled with alcoholism.
Yeah. And tragically, his father committed suicide when Larry was just 18.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do you think that loss, that hardship early on is where his famous drive comes from?
It's impossible to say for sure, but it's hard to imagine it didn't have a significant impact. When you read about young Larry, shooting hoops alone late at night, almost using basketball as an escape, I think that dedication, that need to push himself, it really becomes a defining characteristic throughout his entire career.
Yeah, it's almost like he had something to prove.
Right. He could have easily let those early challenges define him and hold him back, but he chose a different path. He transformed them into fuel, almost like an I'll show you attitude.
It's interesting you say that because his college years are a perfect example. He goes off to Indiana University, a basketball powerhouse. But it wasn't a good fit at all.
Well, yeah, think about it. Small-town kids suddenly drop into this huge competitive environment. Of course he felt overwhelmed, out of place. He even questioned if he belonged there at all, despite his obvious talent.
So he makes a bold move and transfers to Indiana State, a smaller school much closer to home. It seems like this was a major turning point for him.
Oh, absolutely it was. He needed to find the right environment to thrive. And sometimes that means taking a step back to move forward. It makes you think about times in your own life when maybe you felt the same way, out of your depth, unsure of your next move. Finding your place is crucial.
Totally. And at Indiana State, he just explodes. He leads them all the way to the 1979 NCAA championship game. And guess who his opponent is? Magic Johnson. It's the beginning of one of the greatest rivalries in sports history.
I mean, that decision to transfer, it wasn't just about basketball. It was about Larry Bird taking control. He found his place, and in doing so, he proved to himself and everyone else what he was capable of.
Yeah, and the NBA was definitely watching. The Boston Celtics drafted him in '78, even though he stayed in college for his senior year. And, the Celtics were a struggling team at that time, coming off a dismal 29-win season.
Right. And that's where the Larry Bird magic we've been talking about, that's where it really kicks in. In his rookie season, he takes the Celtics to 61 wins, an incredible turnaround. But you have to wonder, was it just talent or something more?
He brought this intensity, this competitive fire that seemed to lift the entire team. It's like he willed them to greatness.
Yeah. It was more than just points on the board. His presence, his drive, it transformed the entire team culture. He made his teammates better, pushed them to play harder. He instilled a winning mentality that had been missing.
We just left off talking about Bird's impact on the Celtics, that incredible rookie season.
Yeah.
But his influence goes way beyond those early years. I mean, you wanted to understand his lasting impact, right? And for that, we have to get into his unique style of play.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Bird was known for his versatility, right? Yeah. He could score from anywhere, pass with pinpoint accuracy, and grab those rebounds. It was nobody's business.
Yeah. And his trash talking. Ugh. Oh, man. I've heard stories about him telling opponents exactly what he was going to do and then, doing it. I mean, what kind of mind games are those?
Oh, that's classic Bird, right? But, it wasn't just for show. He knew how to get into his opponents' heads, disrupt their game. It was all part of his, competitive edge.
Oh, for sure. But he wasn't all flash either. People might forget, with all the highlights, that his fundamentals were rock solid. Footwork, shooting form, textbook perfect.
Yeah. And that speaks to that dedication we were talking about earlier. He wasn't always the most physically gifted athlete on the court, but he made up for it with sheer effort. And that incredible attention to detail, he understood that mastering the basics, that was the key to becoming truly great.
Yeah, it's like he squeezed every ounce of talent out of himself.
Right.
Pushed himself to be the best he could possibly be.
Exactly. And that's such a powerful lesson for anyone, in any field. Raw talent only gets you so far. It's about hard work, discipline, constantly looking for ways to improve.
Totally. And his leadership, right. He wasn't a, loud, rah-rah type of leader, but he commanded respect.
What's interesting is how his leadership style, evolved over time. Early on, he led by example, with his incredible play and that work ethic we've been talking about. But as he matured, he became more vocal, more willing to, mentor the younger players.
Can you imagine being a rookie on the Celtics, having Larry Bird as your mentor? Talk about a masterclass in basketball.
Oh, yeah. And it wasn't just about skills, He taught them about leadership, the importance of teamwork, holding yourself and your teammates to the highest standards.
Yeah. We've been talking about his on-court impact. But there's another side to his legacy that's really fascinating.
Yeah, I think you're talking about the way he connected with fans, the way his story resonated with people from all walks of life.
Exactly. It's that story of resilience. Beating the odds, achieving greatness. Even when you come from humble beginnings, that message, it goes way beyond basketball.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that hard work and dedication, those are the keys to success. And that's a message that's more relevant than ever today.
Right. Because it's so easy to get caught up in the idea of, instant gratification. But Bird's journey reminds us that real success, it takes time. It takes those, grueling hours of practice, the willingness to embrace the struggle.
Yeah, it's about staying true to yourself. Even when you face those, inevitable doubts and setbacks, it's about pushing yourself, even when no one is watching. And it's about never giving up on your dreams, no matter how tough things get.
And even with all the fame and accolades, he never lost that humility. He never forgot where he came from.
You rarely see that kind of groundedness these days. It's refreshing. And it made him even more relatable to the fans.
Yeah. He never let it all go to his head. He stayed true to his values, his work ethic, his love of the game.
And that's a powerful lesson for anyone striving for success. It's about staying grounded, staying connected to your roots, even when you reach the top.
It's about remembering where you came from and using your success to make a real difference in the world.
Larry Bird's legacy is a testament to the power of hard work, dedication, and that unwavering humility. It's a legacy that continues to inspire athletes, fans, and anyone who dares to dream big.
All right, so we've unpacked, Bird's style of play, his impact on the Celtics, his leadership, and his incredible lasting legacy. But there's still one piece of the puzzle we need to explore.
You got it. The man behind the legend. What were his motivations, his fears, his doubts? What made him tick?
Welcome back to our deep dive into the life of Larry Bird. So far, we've covered his incredible career, his leadership, and his lasting impact on the game. But, you want to know more about the man, behind the legend. What made him tick?
Right. It's easy to just focus on the championships, the records, the, highlight reel moments. But what's truly fascinating about Larry Bird is his humanity, the struggles and the triumphs that, shaped him into the icon we know today.
Yeah, we talked about his, difficult childhood, losing his father at a young age.
Yeah.
But it seems like he faced other challenges, too, even at the height of his career.
Oh, absolutely. He battled through some pretty serious injuries. The pressure of leading a team, the constant, media scrutiny. And on top of all that, he was incredibly hard on himself. Always pushing, always striving for perfection.
Which makes you wonder, was that drive, that intensity, was it a blessing and a curse?
You could definitely say that. You read about his legendary work ethic, his absolute refusal to be outworked. But that same drive, could also be a source of frustration. He was known for being demanding, even abrasive at times. And I think that sometimes put a strain on his relationships, even with his teammates.
It's interesting how those same qualities that make someone great can also, create conflict.
Yeah, it's a common thread you see with a lot of high achievers. There's this, inner drive that pushes them to be the best. But it can also make them, difficult to be around at times. Bird's story is a reminder that even the most celebrated individuals have their own internal battles to fight.
For sure. But one thing that always struck me about Larry Bird was his humility. Even with all the fame and adulation, he never seemed to let it go to his head.
It's true. He never forgot where he came from. He stayed connected to his roots. And that, made him incredibly relatable. People saw a guy who achieved incredible success, but never lost sight of who he was.
And in a world where it's so easy to get caught up in the hype, that's a pretty powerful message.
It really is. Larry Bird's legacy is about so much more than basketball. It's about hard work, perseverance, and staying true to yourself, no matter what challenges life throws your way.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the life of Larry Bird, what are the key takeaways you think our listeners should remember?
I think his story reminds us that greatness isn't something you're born with. It's something you earn. It's about pushing yourself beyond your limits, embracing the challenges, and never giving up on your dreams. And just as important, it's about staying grounded, treating others with respect, and using your success to make a positive impact on the world around you.
And that's something we can all strive for no matter what our, field of endeavor. So as you go about your day-to-day, remember those lessons, embrace the challenges, work hard, and never underestimate the power of humility and perseverance. Just like Larry Bird, you have the potential to achieve amazing things.